99th meeting of the Joint Expert Community in the Food Additive JECFA. And the second one, it's proposed draft specification for the identity and purity of the food additive erasing from the 99 JECFA meeting. The matter, it was from the FAO. They are working in the area of the packaging. There was published report and policy brief related to the food safety and crucial economy, with a focus in the food packaging waste and recycling, consideration that there is a growing evidence that contaminants, whether microbial, chemical, or physical, can be introduced and potentially accumulated during this critical process. FAO also continued to the work on the food safety implementation of the food contact materials, exploring innovations and new solutions in the area. Also further, FAO, they are working in the new foods and production system, critical role in transmission of the agro-food system. However, with the increasing attention on those novel food questions are raising regarding their safety and regulatory overseas. A review was published outlining known food safety hazard associated with the new food sources and production system, in the particular like plant-derived proteins, seaweeds, and other like food production, fermentation, vertical fermenting, and 3D footprints. The review also emphasized also the needs of collective work among the stakeholders from the government and the food industry and the research community to address the contamination on the safety of the new food source system, production system. The food safety is personalizing nutrition and focus on the food supplement and function to foods. FAO, they are finalized a report that will provide a comprehensive analysis on the food safety and regulatory implementation associated with personalization nutrition, focusing and specifically on the food supplement and function foods. It will illustrate the example for regulatory framework for these products across different countries and provide insight into the trends and innovation. The report will also examine consumer behavior and will offer different perspective for a way forward in this trade. Alternative animal source food, a comprehensive review for evidence on the 3 benefits and risk for nutrition, environment, livelihood, and food safety. FAO will produce a comprehensive review with related recommendation for the current state of evidence on this topic. Also, they consume a series of background review of the evidence on the benefits and risk for the alternative animal source food for nutrition, environment, and socio-economic consideration. FAO also work with the include definition of the alternative animal source food, their subcategories, and developing a glossary and of relevant terminology and synonyms. The matter was from the WHO, the optimal intake of animal source food, undergoing work on the optic intake of animal source food, ultra-processed food, also undergoing work with the guidance on the combination of highly processed food. Also, there are the WHO published the guidelines on to use the lower sodium salt substitutes to guide policy markets and stakeholders in reducing population sodium intake and lowering the risk of hypertension and related non-communicable disease. Also, the WHO called for the global implementation of the industry to produce the trans fatty acid by 2023, and the end of that, 53 countries implemented the best practice policy, protecting 3.7 billion people globally, while the global implementation target was not fully achieved. A remarkable process was made across all regions. Also, call for new export in the JECFA community. The new call, it will be on in the spring in 2025, and it will be open until October 2025. And a new approach for methodology in future food safety and risk assessment workshop. It will be conducted in 18 to 20 June for this year. It will be in Singapore, and the event it will be organized by WHO and the Technology University in the Singapore. And the aims of that workshop to bring the gaps between the scientific innovation and regulatory framework in the food safety. And also the WHO, the last year in May, they make a meeting organized in Geneva for the Alliance of the Food Safety, and collaborated with the U.S. Center for Food for Diseases Control and Prevention Division of Foodborne and Waterborne and Environmental Diseases, and the Food and Drugs Administrative, and the outcomes to improve that the foodborne diseases surveillance and improve the capacity to collect analysis and use the data relevant to the foodborne decision and food monitoring to be used for the risk assessment and also for the risk management decision. And the Codex Trust Fund, it was launched in Project Output, which is provide access to resource material and products developed within CTF2 support. The result is coming from the 99 meeting. It was in Geneva in 2024. The meeting report and the toxicology and dirty exposure monography, WHO Food Additives serial number 19, and also the specification for monography 34 resulting from that meeting. And the meeting for the JECFA 101, it will be postponed, and 102 meeting will be abbreviated, and WHO will be need to evaluate the possibility for assessing fewer food additives, and may also consider to reduction the frequency and duration of future JECFA meeting in general. The action required for a result of change in acceptable daily intake stated, and another toxicological recommendation related to the specification from JECFA. It was to evaluate the safety for food additives and for processing aids, and also to revise the specification for the 3 food additives and 10 flavoring agents, and to establish specification for the 4 processing aids. The community of the CCFA is invited to consider the recommendation action presented in the index of this document, which we might be required following the evaluation of these food additives. No new data on the microbial effects were submitted for natamycin and nisin of relevant to the request from community of CCFA. In addition, no new toxicological data were submitted for the nisin, for bioglycerin ester for the fatty acid, and no new toxicological data were submitted or found in the lateral research. JECFA would like to remind the community of CCFA of the limited resource and recommended that CCFA place greater emphasis on the ensuring the availability of new data before a food additive is prioritized for JECFA re-evaluation. It was concluded that the food category mapping between the food X2 categories used for the food consumption data and GSFA food categories were needed, which will be enable more refined estimated of the dirty exposure to be undertaken. The food additives evaluating in the meeting of the JECFA, the first 2 of the additives was in the meeting, the result could not be completed by the safety evaluations. And there is other types of the food additives. And this is also the list that recommended to be taken action by CCFA. And this is the list for favoring agents consider for the specification, and this is the list also. That's all regarding the 3A and 3B. And for the 4A, the endorsement and revision of maximum level for the food additive and processing aids in the Codex standards. Endorsement of the food additives previous forwarded by the CCLA 23 as outlined in the RAB document for the regional standard for the Castilla Lulu. In the community CCFAV in 2022, the proposal for development for a new work was submitted by Colombia and presented to the Codex member, and the decision to recommend it to approve for new work on Castilla Lulu by CAC45, and the request Colombia to revise the proposal by providing more trade information from the other producing country, and to submit it directly to the Codex Security, and also to establish the new working group to share by the Colombia and the co-share from the Mexico, and the working will be English and Spanish, and to prepare the subject and to provide for new work a proposal draft standard for the Castilla Lulu. In 2024, the community CAC47, also the draft standards for Castilla Lulu was submitted by CCLA for adoption at step 5.8. Provision on food additive and labeling will refer to CCFA and CCFA for endorsement. The decision is what the standards adoption was drafted until the next session, a draft for CCFA review. Also in 2024, they are highlighted that the endorsement requirement for the food additives provision in the draft standard had not yet been fulfilled. And the decision was to withhold any recommendation to CAC until the Codex Committee on the food additives community completed the endorsement process. The delegate will be invited to consider the endorsement of the food additive provision forward by CCLA 23 as outlined in the REB 24 documented for the regional standard for the Castilla Lulu. The background about the Castilla Lulu, it is a flavored natural benefits. It's have rich with the vitamin A and C antitoxin. It's also promoting immune health, skin, and for heart function, and commonly used in fresh consumption, juicy, and favorite dishes in. The origin of that from the Colombia, and now it's collective in Central American and Mexico, and also from Egypt, around 15 million ton producer. And the important for this to establish a regional standard in circle of food safety, quality, and trades facilitation in the Latin American. The key for that element standard at minimum quality requirement and acceptable defects, and required consumer labeling and compliance with the Codex provision on contaminants, hygiene, and packaging. Exotic future with a very pleasant aroma and flavor and nutrition benefits. The recommendation is Codex delegation might give their support for the endorsement of the food additives provision in the draft standard for the Castilla Lulu to prevent future delay. The current draft does not allow any food additives, and this endorsement is crucial for the standard adoption at the 5.8 during the community of CAC 48. That's all. Thank you very much.